I know that when
I think we should do this at church. Oh, yeah, it's a great idea. You're going to be at
where
it.
is your goal again?
I thought of that today. They were all talking about 5-year plans and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that if they get on the council, they need to head up the committee and develop
Do a
5-year
fall-year plan.
I'd like to call the Maumelle City Council meeting to order. I need to let you know tonight that Councilmember Williams will not be with us tonight. She's out of town. And City Clerk Timmons will not be here tonight also. So Deputy City Clerk Amanda Smith is assuming her duties tonight. So with that, we'll move on to the next item, and invocation and pledge of allegiance. I've asked Councilmember Vapurzian to lead us in that tonight.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you and come to you tonight thanking you for your goodness to us and for the many things that you provide for us each and every day that we're not even sometimes aware of. Help us to live grateful, thankful lives. Lord, our thoughts and prayers are with those on the East Coast and the Carolinas and suffering now, tornadoes coming up and the flooding and all that's going on. There's so many people displaced and suffering through the inclement weather and the hurricane. And God, I pray that you would bless them and provide for them. Lord, help us to help them in any way that we might possibly be able to. May we continue to uplift them in our prayers. We do pray for our uniformed personnel as well as our military here and abroad for their safety as they have pledged their lives to protect our freedoms. Thank you for this room this evening. We ask that our conversation please you and as we do the work of this wonderful city. And thank you again for all you've provided for us through your Son, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The next item is special guests and announcements, and we don't have an item listed here because we were trying to keep it a surprise, but we are actually going to give out a President's Volunteer Service Award tonight. And so at this time, I'd like to ask Miss LaWanda Simmons to come forward. I had nothing to do with tricking you.
Good. I'll get you then.
Come on up here, LaWanda. All right, so LaWanda Simmons has been awarded a gold level President's Volunteer Service Award for her work on behalf of Counting on Each Other and the Department of Senior Services for serving in excess of 600 volunteer hours in the past 12 months. LaWanda leads a group of volunteers who tirelessly seek donations, transport, sort, and price items to be sold to raise funds for seniors in the Maumelle area at Find a Treasure rummage sale. So, LaWanda, I'd like you to place this.
Yay.
And hang on, we got an award to give out, and I'm gonna have to get my glasses for this. And we got a letter from the president also. All right, so the award says, the President's Volunteer Service Award. The President's Volunteer Service Award is presented to LaWanda Simmons Gold by the Corporation for National and Community Service in recognition and appreciation for their commitment to strengthen our nation and communities through volunteer service, awarded 2018 by the Corporation for National and Community Service and the Points of Light. So there's that. And then this is from the White House, Washington. Congratulations on receiving the President's Volunteer Service Award. On behalf of a grateful nation, I thank you for your service to your fellow Americans and those most in need. Through your dedicated service, you have ensured the continuation of America's unparalleled commitment to improving the life of others. Over the past year, you have served as a model of the American spirit. Your many hours of service have strengthened the bonds of cooperation and trust that bring people together, while helping to address some of the greatest challenges of our time. One of our nation's greatest strength remains the compassion of our everyday citizens who give so willingly of themselves and their lives for the benefits of others. Each generation of hardworking, kind-hearted volunteers helped to write a new chapter of American greatness, and our nation is proud for your commitment to this honorable tradition. As we reflect on your many acts of kindness and charity over this past year, our nation draws inspiration from those who answered the call to help their communities and our nation. With your continued efforts to build on our nation's culture of service, America will proudly remain a land of freedom and opportunity for all. Thank you for the enduring commitment to serving your community and our nation. I trust that you will continue to work for the betterment of others and an even stronger future for the American people. And it's signed, Donald Trump. And you don't have to speak now. What? You're welcome to if you want to.
Serious?
You don't have
And he said, well, you're going to.
Well, now you have 601 hours of volunteer service.
And what they told her she was going to talk about was the Shredded event that's coming up this weekend from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So at Bank of the Ozarks parking lot. So that's their semi-annual. I think y'all do it twice a year, the Shredded event, which raises money for counting on each other. So congratulations, LaWanda, and it's a very prestigious award to win. So.
Well, I'm going to Washington Thursday, and I'll stop by and thank you.
Well, I just show that at the front door and say, hey, I want to meet the guy, you know.
Let us know how that works out.
Yeah.
All right. Next item is approval of the minutes from the September 4th regular meeting. And y'all can stay if you want to, but you don't have to. You're not required to. All right, approval of the minutes from September the 4th regular meeting. You have a copy of those minutes in your packets.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. I have no public comment cards tonight on items that are on the agenda or not on the agenda. Next item is the financial statement review, and Ms. Vega is here tonight to do the financial report.
Good evening. So these financial statements are for the month of August.
Should have a,
Yeah, there's the PowerPoint.
yeah.
There you go. All right. So we have a healthy fund balance in all our funds. Sanitation is up 9% compared to budget. Street is up 6% compared to budget. And the general fund is up 7% compared to budget. And we have $2 million over the ordinance 438 requirement. Next slide. Okay, this is the general fund revenue, and the state turnback is up 10%. The county millage tax is up 5%. County sales tax is up 1%. This is all over prior year.
Yeah.
Franchise fee is up 2%. Community service fee is down 9%. Building and permits is up 9%. Parks is down 9%. And senior services is up 30%.
State turnback.
Next, we're looking at the street fund. State turnback is down 5%. Street aid is up 7%, and county millage is up 3%. The sanitation fund is down 14%. Soon to be rising. Okay, this is our general fund expenditures, and I've been asked to, or y'all have asked a bunch of questions about compared to budget and why we're so down on budget, and I have that information too. First, I'm going to go through and tell you where we stand over prior year, and then I'll talk about the budget side. So, admin is up 13% over prior year, and this is due to the HR director position and my position being filled at the beginning of the year and a full year. Last year we did not have a full year. The police are up due to salary increases. Fire is also up due to fire increases. Police is up 5% and fire is up 7%. Parks are down 13%. They're understaffed. Seniors are up 39% due to the new facility. Now on the budget side, I'm just going to talk about the big ones. So if you look at the police, 86, okay, compared to budget, they are $208,000 below budget. 86% of that is attributable to payroll, and that's due to open positions. The other part of it, utilities was $13,000 variance, and as you know, that can change. If we have a hard winter, then our utility savings will go away. For fire, fire is under budget $184,000, and 70% of that is payroll due to open positions, and the other part, 30%, $10,000 is utilities, $10,000 is contract services, sorry, and materials and supplies is under budget $37,000. Are there any questions? I didn't really talk about admin. Admin, recruiting is under budget $13,000. Repairs under $5,000. Bank fees are under $10,000, and salaries are down $30,000, and supplies were under $13,000. Travel were under $10,000, and contract services $12,000. Now, in speaking to that, I know that the travel and seminars and that kind of stuff, like Tina's out for a week. Next week, I'm out for a week. So, you know, our travel time is not reflected in when you're looking at the budget, because the budget is just like this. Right now, the budget is 8/12 of the total budget. Okay. The next slide shows our spending just in a different type chart. And you can see that the bulk of our spending is on community safety. The next one shows where we are spending our budget compared to the total budget. So at this time, by doing the 8/12, we should be at 70% of spending under that type of analysis. And all the departments are under 70%. For streets, when you look at the other operating and you see that we're under prior year, we're really actually flat to prior year, because In 2017, we were waiting on a $200,000 reimbursement check for design services, and right now we're waiting on a $58,000 reimbursement. Sanitation, they're down due to payroll, understaffing. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Overall, where do you like to see us year to date on our revenue for the city? What was your estimate?
I think that we're going to be coming in right at budget, potentially over budget.
So you think 3% more, 6%?
I'll have to look into that. I don't want to throw out a number without looking at it.
And I was just thinking averages and not a hard number.
Yeah.
It just seems over the last few reports that we got that our revenues have been up, and I know there's some people that think that our revenue is flat, and I really am not seeing that trend, but I'm also not an accountant, so I'd like.
Well, part of the reason I would think that people would say it's flat is because our large revenue is flat. Like county sales tax in the general fund, it's up 1%. And if you look at city sales tax, it's up 17%. Now that is a more significant number. And I believe that, well, this doesn't include the new sales tax.
Yeah.
So.
But there might be a mistake when it comes to,
Reconciling.
Well, there may be a rebate that has to be given that somebody could apply for, like we ran into that one time, but it's not showing up that's happening, but yeah.
Yeah, we're not expecting that, but we have no control over that.
Well, and then on the other note, it looks like our expenses are down over the last few times that we've reported, and we're not hitting that 70% mark that you were talking about across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if maybe we budgeted a little more aggressive on expenditures, and that there's going to be more wiggle room at the end of that, or is it just because we're only looking at 8 of 12?
So if you look at payroll should be very tight.
Yeah.
To budget.
Yeah.
Because we budget by the exact positions and the exact amount that we expect to use anyone in a certain position. So for instance, the city attorney budgeted for a 30-hour work week. Well, she's only working 20-hour work weeks. But when things are really busy, she works more hours. And so there you're going to have a variance. Parks has had a real tough time getting people in positions. They hire and then somebody quits, and they're struggling to have a full staff. The same with Public Works as well.
Well, and I understand that because there's so much variance. I'm more interested in like an average across the board where we're looking at, because we're going to be coming into budgets,
Yeah, and there are some areas that we may have savings, but like for instance, HVAC maintenance contract. We are very under budget there. I attributed that to new agreements that we've gotten because Tina's aggressively tried to get, well, not just Tina, Fire too. Everybody's tried to get the least best contract that they can get.
Better.
But I think it's been better managed this year.
Good. Well, I like the way it looks, and so I just wanted to see if there was any more concrete than just my good feeling, So, thank you.
Excuse me, Councilmember Vapurzian?
Quick question. What's our minimum fund balance requirement? Do you know?
It's 2.5.
Okay, because I thought you said
2.6 really.
we were 2 million over.
Yeah, we have 2 million in excess funds over that that requirement.
So when the number, so 4.6 is what you're saying is what so where, because when I look at cash assets under general fund, it says 7.2. So I was,
So, part of that is encumbered, and I'm working on that because
Allocated and it just hasn't been spent, or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
if a line item's encumbered, that means that we have POs out there.
it's assigned.
Yes. We have started working on going through that number because the 1.6 is not accurate.
Okay.
It hasn't been accurate since 2008.
Okay.
And so I've talked to the mayor about it, and we're looking at potentially making changes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Councilmember Holt?
Just a quick question about the 2 million that's over minimum required. Isn't that a little bit lower than it has been in the past? I mean, haven't we had a balance in excess of that previously, or I don't know, a date, just, you know, in the last several months or last year or whatever?
Yes, it has been higher than that. I don't know that it's been higher than 200,000 compared to that, but I'd have to look at prior months.
I thought we'd had like 3 or 4 million.
No, we've never had that. It's always been around 2 million. I don't know if we ever got up to 2.5.
There's not any other questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve the,
Second?
we have a motion and a second to approve the financials for August 2018. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is department reports, and those are done at the first meeting of each month. And I know that Councilmember Scott had asked for a report from Mr. Hogan, but because of the presentation, some other things, I asked him to delay that till the next meeting, if that's okay. Okay, all right, thank you. I wasn't 100% sure, but yeah, okay. All right. Next item is a procedural motion. I need a motion from the floor to read all resolutions and ordinances by title only tonight.
Second?
Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is unfinished business. We have the third reading of ordinance number 960, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Ms. Smith, if you'd read that by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 960, an ordinance accepting and confirming the dedication of certain streets and drainage in Carnahan Village subdivision upon the fulfillment of certain contingencies and for other purposes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion that we accept ordinance 960.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept ordinance number 960. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, Ms. Smith, roll call vote, please. You don't have to turn that on. That's not your microphone.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Saunders?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Williams isn't here. Councilmember Timmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Vapurzian?
Yes.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is the second reading of ordinance number 961 as amended, establishing speed limits. Ms. Smith, if you'll read that by title only, please.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 961, an ordinance declaring speed limit in residential rear access alleys.
Okay, the speed study is actually in the FYIs, I think is where it's at, that it was given to you in, but we did a speed study for a week, and to be honest with you, I don't see a speeding problem there. I drove through there twice, and you cannot drive less than 12 miles an hour. My speedometer is a digital speedometer, and I just let off the accelerator as I go into the alley, and I'm doing 12 miles an hour, going one direction for sure because it's downhill. Now, uphill, you give a little bit of gas, but if you're going less than 12 miles an hour, you feel like somebody could outwalk you, is the problem. But the speed study actually showed that there was 140 vehicles that used that alleyway in the week that we did it, and 5 of them were going 1 to 5. I don't know how that's possible. And then 48 of them were going 6 to 10 miles an hour. 62 of them were going 11 to 15, and 24 were going 16 to 20. And then there was one that was going between 21 and 25 miles an hour. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that this has anything to do with the ordinance. I'm just saying that there does not appear to be a speeding problem in that alley. Even if you give them a 5-mile tolerance, I mean, there was only 24 cars that were going somewhere between 16 and 20. Well, they could have been doing 16, instead of 20. So the speed study and the crazy thing is it has a lane 1 and a lane 2. But look at the combined is what you need to look at. The lane 1 and lane 2 just simply determines which direction they're going, which tube it hits first. That's just the way it's set up to do a two-way street, basically not a one-way alley or one-lane alley. So, but basically this said enforcement would be, one way it was 23%, but that's over 15 miles an hour. We set the limit at anything over 15 miles, or 16 and above. But then the other way it was 13.2. And I think it's the part where going downhill, I mean, basically you would coast over 12 miles an hour. And if somebody was giving it any acceleration at all as they went over the hill, they would be doing 16 easy. So I don't think there's a speeding problem. There may have been the incident with the one person that was speeding through the neighborhood or something like that. But during the week we did it, there didn't indicate to be a speeding problem there. But I'm not saying that this ordinance isn't needed simply because we don't have a speed limit set for rear residential alleyways currently. So they could do 35 or actually I think it's 25. If it says it's not marked, it's 25, but I don't think 25 is a speed that somebody should be going down those alleyways. There's too many driveways. So, and I put it in the location after consulting with Councilmember Holt that they felt like the speeding problem was occurring in. Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, sir. I was wondering if Councilmember Holt or the mayor could tell us, are there other public alleyways in Maumelle?
Not that are.
Let me think. I don't think there's any public alleyways, other public alleyways.
So this would just be applying strictly to Yarden Oaks, and if we passed it the way it is now.
Right.
Okay.
As well as any future alleys
Yeah,
that would be created and dedicated.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Now, I guess the statement in their public streets, we require everything to be built to our standards. So, yeah, but it wouldn't be an alleyway that we maintain or that we would do anything on, I guess. It'd be private property otherwise.
Okay. What's your thoughts, Mr. Mayor, on this ordinance?
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm part of the reason the ordinance is here. Councilmember Holt came to me and said he wanted us to put up speed limit signs on those alleyways. Well, there was not in my mind, there wasn't a speed limit on that alleyway, so what speed limit did I put on those signs? So that's why I said, well, let's get with the city attorney and request that this be drafted. And so, I do think we need this because if anybody ever wants to put up a speed limit sign there, I guess you'd have to list 25 right now to say, if it's not otherwise posted, it's 25 miles an hour. Now, how does that work? I don't know. That's the weird thing to me. If you read our regs, it says if it's not otherwise posted, the speed limit's 25. So that would be the speed limit there if you didn't post something. But if you post something, what speed limit do you post, there? So that was I was asking for the guidance of what do I put on the signs when I looked at the code. And, I know the first meeting, I wasn't here when y'all discussed this, it was, well, how many signs are we gonna put up? I'd never really intended to put up any signs. We're just gonna put on the pavement, speed limit, this amount. And I think there's only 6 locations it would have to be done, and you've covered every entry into that, alleyways.
Okay. So you'd like to do this?
Well, I didn't necessarily want to put the speed limit signs up, but I needed something in a code that allowed me to put a speed limit sign up if we chose to do that.
All righty. Thank you.
I couldn't just put a sign up and make up a speed limit, I didn't think. Is there any more discussion on ordinance number 961? If not, it'll be on third reading at the next meeting.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilmember Scott?
You said that you can't even go over 12 miles an hour, and yet the ordinance reads that the speed limit would be 10. So what do we do about that?
Well, I just said, for me, it's hard for me to drive 10 miles an hour, but, I mean, we always do some kind of tolerance. I mean, we have trained police officers. I mean, I would say let them do their job and let them make the determination. Even if the speed limit is 10, if they chose not to write someone a ticket at 19 miles an hour, I'm fine with that as long as they use it during their judgment. Now, if there's 12 cars parked along the alleyway and someone goes through there at 19 miles an hour, then maybe they need to write a ticket or something like that. Or if there's children present or something like that. But they might choose to write unsafe driving or something like that.
Right, there are 2 other options
Yeah,
that cover
yeah,
that according
yeah.
to the chief.
Right.
Okay. I was just thinking that we're putting something in there that's very, very difficult to,
Well, we do have that speed limit in our parks, so 10 miles an hour. But it is hard to drive 10 miles an hour. You got to basically almost ride your brake, when you're going 10 miles an hour. But I mean, I definitely do it when there's children present.
Okay.
So if I see children out.
okay, thank you.
So I guess I just admitted to speeding on an alleyway, but Chief will have me a ticket waiting.
There's no speed limit.
Oh, okay, I'm good.
You're good right now.
Can't speed in that
You're
alley.
good right now.
Admitted to speeding higher than our proposed speed limit. All right, any other discussion on ordinance number 961? Okay, next item is under new business. We have resolution number 2018-29. Ms. Smith, if you'd read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, Resolution Number 2018-29, a resolution to amend the 2018 Maumelle Street Fund budget.
Thank you. All right, I included a very detailed list of numbers that Jack prepared for everybody. And what I also need to tell you is back in free money is not free. I mean, I've said that before. When we get federal money, back in 2016 in February, the council approved up to $41,000, $41,429 toward these sidewalks. Now, it wasn't a budget amendment. It was a willingness to utilize federal aid transportation alternative program funds. And so at the time, we were asking for $207,146 to do the Edgewood Drive sidewalks. And with that amount of money for a project, our 20% match would have been $41,000. But when we actually got our grant the first time, they gave us $125,000. So that's the number at the top of the memo. So they gave us, instead of giving us $207,000, we actually had $156,000 because you had the amount they're giving plus the 20% match. But shortly after that was awarded, MetroPlan came out with another grant, and it was trying to, same type of grant, a TIP or TAP grant, that allowed you to, a TAP grant that allowed you to use for safe routes to schools projects. And so that's what our first project was, so we applied for that grant. And they gave us $32,000, but we have to match that 8%. So then we were up to a total of $40,000, or no, excuse me, we're up to $39,250 in our match, basically, with the MetroPlan grant and the Highway Department's grant that we got. So
we had $196,000 with the grant and our match money to build a project. So we took bids. The lowest bid came in at $218,000. So close to what our original estimate was 2 years ago, but still a little high. So we negotiated the price down so we can get the sidewalks built for $200,000, but our total amount of grant funds and Maumelle match is $196,000. So now we need an additional $3,750 in order to do the project. So the total that we need for everything is $43,000. But the council in 2016 committed $41,400. So basically we're asking for $1,600 above what we asked for. Now, with that, we get 125 and 32. We get $157,000 in federal funds. So I know that's a long laid out thing, and appreciate Jack putting numbers together, and he pulled all the documents, and he can answer questions too if you've got any for him. But this has been just one of those projects that, you know, due to the funds involved in it and then needing additional monies after we got the first grant in order to complete the project, it's just drug out longer than we hoped for. Any questions?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 2018-29.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to adopt resolution 2018-29. Any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Jack, go get it built now.
Yeah.
Now, we had to know something pretty quick because the federal year ends September 30th.
Yeah.
And so that was, we're getting this thing under the deadline to get the money for this year from the feds. So Casey was calling Friday going, what are y'all doing on this project? And I said, I'll let you know on Tuesday. So appreciate that very much. Next item is Bash on the Boulevard recap. Actually, we had the makings of a really good day out at Bash on the Boulevard. A little warmer than I would have actually wanted it to be for a while, a little steamy. And then it came a nice rain shower and cooled things down after the steaminess left again. And then close to 5 o'clock, I guess, we had lightning in the area, and so they made the decision to cancel Bash on the Boulevard for the rest of the evening. And then it just a slow rain kind of moved in and rained for several hours. But they were the musical act didn't get to appear, but we had a lot of businesses out there and food trucks and everything. And a few people had actually canceled the day before just based on the forecast, meaning the food vendors and some things like that, because they didn't want to prepare food and then lose it. But the plans is that the Chamber's going to do it again next year, and they even the band, I think they're going to get the same band to come back, maybe at a reduced rate or something like that, because they missed out on this year's. And it's some Maumelle residents that were in that band, and they really wanted to perform. So that's it. But we had, like I say, we had a large attendance there and had a lot of businesses and a lot of politicians out there. So next item, Amazon project in North Little Rock. Steve Mosley had asked that I speak on the Amazon project. Did they contact us? Well, we don't know. We get a lot of inquiries by real estate companies, and they'll say, do you have this much land available? Do you have a 40-acre site or do you have a 200,000 square foot building, or do you have this? They don't tell us what the projects are. They just make inquiries. Or if we get a site selection that comes in, they may call it Project Zero, or they may call it Project Razorback. We still don't know. I mean, we didn't know it was Dillard's looking out here until we had to actually go meet with Dillard's at the AEDC's office. It was called Project something, and I don't remember the exact name now. That was in 2011. But they just came in and they said, you know, we're this project and we need a building this large, and we're going to put an internet fulfillment center in there. But they don't tell you who they are. And so we haven't had anybody that said they're going to do an internet fulfillment center, but we have had several inquiries on even the Brown property that's out on the interstate out there behind the McDonald's and all, where we don't have sewer currently. We had some people inquiring about that property this summer, actually. So could have been Amazon, but they don't ever come back and tell you that you didn't make it or you did. But the thing about the Amazon project is, that's basically going to be a tent that they're putting up right now. It's not even going to be a building they're going to wreck. So they're going to have 3 modular buildings and a tent. It's kind of a prototype or pilot program, and then next year they may move into a full-scale building, or they may build their own project or something like that. It's right on Interstate 30, just north of, I believe it's called Shorter Gardens. So if you're leaving Little Rock, driving on I-30, the last buildings on your right before you get to I-40, you go around the curve if you want to go to McCain Mall. The last buildings, well, they've gone in now and done dirt work on that site. It was the laydown area for the North Little Rock High School. While they built the high school, that's where they assembled all their material, and they built parts of things there, metal and things like that, and then trucked them over to the North Little Rock High School. So the site was already cleared.
Wasn't there a school a long time ago, that area?
There's a school in that area.
Yeah.
The school's still there, but this was a vacant piece of ground. Yeah. But, so to be honest with you, Steve, I don't know if they contacted us or not, but they didn't let us know it was Amazon if they did. And that's typically how it works. Like I say, Dillard's didn't tell us who they were. Every project we've ever worked on, they don't tell you who they are till you make the short list and you get down to negotiating on pricing and all that stuff, and then you have to sign a confidentiality agreement, so you can't even release who it is. So they knew we were going to know people in the room when Dillard showed up, so we had to sign confidentiality agreements before we ever walked in the room, stating that we couldn't discuss anything about it or who we met with. And they do that for several reasons. Like, I can't speak to necessarily Dillard's, but if that company's already located somewhere and they're looking to move a warehouse, change locations, well, they don't want their employees to know because they don't want them to quit. They also don't want their competitors to know that they're moving into an area. So it's for that reason that they don't want you to be able to know who they are on the start, and then as it gets closer to it, then they still don't want you to divulge that they're locating there. Walmart is big about that. If Walmart buys a piece of ground, they don't want people to know it because the price will go up if they know it's Walmart too. So
Pepsi did that same thing.
Pepsi, we didn't know it was Pepsi. We knew it was a beverage distribution company. But then Pepsi located in the Scholastic building out here, took 120,000 square feet and put over 100 employees out there. So they consolidated 3 operations, one in Hot Springs, one in Little Rock, and one somewhere up in North Arkansas, Conway, Russellville, somewhere like that. But they consolidated 3 operations to here, so that meant their employees had to start coming to Maumelle, even if they were reporting to Hot Springs.
Wow.
So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
all right. And then the Garden Oaks Alley speed study, I think we've already talked about that. Unless y'all want to ask questions on that, we'll move on. Planning Commission report will be done after the Planning Commission meeting, and there is no Planning Commission meeting this month, so you won't get one of those until November. Any city council member comments? Councilmember Vapurzian?
Quick question, 2 questions. Just wanted to see city attorney how court was going here. And then if there were any plans for that building, Mayor, what your thoughts were, if you want to leave it for
The next.
the next mayor. So those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
With regard to court being held here, I think we're about ready to move downstairs. I think we might actually be down there tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's a bit chaotic. You have 2 very different uses of the building. And so the folks that work here aren't necessarily used to having, say, folks brought in handcuffs and sitting here. So it's been an interesting experience, to say the least. And we're excited to get downstairs.
Okay, good.
And the very last court session lasted until 8:30. So we still had people roaming around the building as we're trying to leave, you know, because they invoked the rule, which means that the witnesses couldn't be in this room, so they were everywhere. They were outside, they were in our blue room and everything else. So there was some issues with that, but it was just a matter of trying to secure the building with people still in the building. So
Okay.
now we did have police officers still here that were out in the blue room also, so
Okay.
that made me feel a little more comfortable of leaving.
Yes.
And then as far as the other building, I thought about just putting up a sign down there and said, you know, land for sale for inquiries. But then the question is, what's the price going to be? I mean, that's going to be the first question they're going to ask. So what I'd recommend is we go look at getting an appraisal done. So what I thought about doing is going ahead and getting some prices to do an appraisal, and then bring that back to the council. That way, whether it's me or the next mayor, they've got some information that they can use for pricing the land. So,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna have to also ask some people to get some stuff out of there, you know. But yeah, we're using it for storage still, and I think Courts has still got some stuff there, but the engine bay's got some stuff in it too.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Councilmember Scott.
Bash on the Boulevard, there were photos in Sunday's paper for people who didn't get to see that. You know, that was pretty neat, even though it didn't say anything about what it was. It just said Bash on the Boulevard, Maumelle.
Okay.
So, but at least we got some recognition in the Gazette, so I appreciated that. And also, we've got the Great Maumelle, Arkansas cleanup on the 22nd between 9 and 12. We have not had a lot of people sign up, I would say 20. But there's been a lot of interest on internet. You know, people have posted going or interested or something like that. So we're going to just send out some words that say everybody who's interested in helping meet at the new pavilion in the park at 9 o'clock on Saturday. We'll break up into teams. I've actually only had 2 people volunteer as team leads as well. So we'll probably have to appoint some team leads. But we were sent about 30 T-shirts, some vests, some gloves. But all we're asking the public to do is bring just to wear appropriate clothes. If they're going to be in tall grass or something, they might want to wear long pants, tennis shoes or something. And to wear gloves, because we may not have enough for everybody. But any equipment that's being used, like for the cleanup this outside of this building, will be provided. So they don't have to bring anything like that. So please come.
They may have been waiting to see what the weather was gonna do.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Hope we
It's
have-
400 degrees outside.
I think it's low 80s, I think is what they're calling for right now, but that could change. Councilmember Mosley?
I was just going to ask you for clarification. Is it just strictly trash, or are we
Yes,
picking up dead wood, or?
No, we know that people will, it's not an opportunity to do the biannual trash pickup or to do additional yard cleanup. There are other mechanisms for doing this. This is just trash. This is just like the Great Arkansas Cleanup. We're just going to be garbage collectors.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Litter.
Litter
Litter,
collectors.
yeah.
Litter collectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Litter collectors. Good word.
Thank you.
All right, any other city council members' comments? Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, the city has submitted a lawsuit to the Arkansas Municipal League for coverage. It is a lawsuit brought by a former employee, basically alleging that she was owed overtime, and so that has been submitted to the Municipal League, and they have accepted it for coverage. Just a heads up, and that was all that I had. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, did you have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay, all right.
One other thing.
We've done all the FYIs, I think. We mentioned the Shredded event earlier when Ms. Simmons was getting her award, but that's also going on Saturday. So take your Shredded to them and don't dump it out at the lake, so during the cleanup, so yeah. Councilmember Scott?
I just wanted to remind everybody of the Chamber of Commerce's brown bags. They had their first one today, and it was great. A lot of discussion. So it was a good event. So, and there are more coming up, so.
They're like today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, correct? I think?
Yes, and then that's for the council members, and then the mayors do the following week, I believe.
Okay.
but the schedule's posted on the Chamber's website, so please, it's worthwhile.
All right. If there's no other business to come before the council, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Meeting is adjourned.
I thought, yeah, that's why you laughed. You thought it was going to be Jefferson.
Hadn't noticed that.
That was not.
I got nowhere to go, Jeff. I got nowhere to go.
I wonder if it was the accounting lady.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. That's the first I've heard of it.